Now, let's talk about Taiwan, the place where I have been living the past 2 years. I'm going to bring two case studies to you. One is Green Island, Liudao, and the other one is Silk's Place, Tarako. Green Island, Liudao, is a tiny island next to Taichung in the south of Taiwan, say southeast of Taiwan. You get there by ferry, and there are local B&Bs, and they pick you at the ferry terminal, so it's all very, very specific. And the welcoming is very warm and friendly, and also relaxed and laid back vibe. Most people go to Green Island for snorkeling or diving, since the marine life is, most people say, the most beautiful spot in Taiwan to do this type of underwater activities. So most people that go there are focused on that. So that is full on the target audience. The main focus is on local inbound tourism, and this has nothing to do with COVID, but I'd say with the facilities they have on the island and the type of facilities they have caters to local needs and wants. So it's not really focused on international travelers. Why? The supply and demand is very horizontal, and there's a specific target audience that is visible throughout it, and you find scooter rentals everywhere and a lot of diving and snorkels. With these scooter rentals, I want to say something. So most people go there for diving and snorkeling, and you could say you could have a differentiation. But if you're there on the spot in Green Island, you will notice that a big part of the visitors are what I would call spring breakers type of visitors, like the ones you find in Florida. A very young audience of 20 somethings that come with friends to drink. You find it at some Spanish beaches in Europe as well, that type of audience. And it is an audience that by nature doesn't spend a lot of money. So if the big target audience that you have is an audience that doesn't spend so much, of course you have to increase volume. If you increase volume, you reach overcapacity very easily. So there are some environmental factors that need our concern, which is air, due to all the scooters that are out there. The air in the downtown area where all the restaurants and bars are is not so pleasant. There is a lot of sound pollution. So from 6 a.m. in the morning until 11 p.m. in the evening, you have the constant buzzing of scooters, which of course will not appeal to people that are willing to find peace and quiet in a remote island. And that's why this is the assessment I make, is the main reason why that type of visitors is not going there, especially not because there are no facilities, because the B&Bs that are there are rather basic. But I saw, for example, in Hiva-Oa, in the Marquesas Islands in Polynesia, it's also very remote and very basic, but they cater to a different type of audience, so you will not have that air and sound pollution. Also, another concern is reef and marine life, so the constant diving and snorkeling at a specific spot will eventually deplete that. So this is a big concern. If you go to other snorkel and diving areas in the world, you'll see that they will swap areas in order to not overburden one specific area. From capacity, you can say there is a big saturation. Sometimes you cannot even cross the main street for a few minutes because all the scooters are going in one direction and in the other direction. So that is something that can get on people's nerves. Absolutely. And the sustainability, the air pollution coming from those scooters. So I see a lot of room for improvement here, especially because the marine life in Green Island is fantastic. I've been to many spots to dive and snorkel here in Taiwan, and Green Island really stands out. It has a unique selling proposition with its marine life. They could step up the game with doing a more segmenting customer analysis. So the service providers could start like upscaling a bit and upscaling a bit more to target more maybe older type of people, even people in their 30s, 40s, people willing to spend a bit more, and not only focus on that very young audience that is there just to drink and have fun. Because that's not the audience that is going to spend a lot of money that will bring in enough revenue to have a more quality-based service providing. So you have beautiful things there to see, which can be used in the unique selling proposition of Green Island. And the island has a lot of assets. So I really see that this for the future can be used for sure. And beautiful, gorgeous, natural vistas. The cliffs are really appealing and they induce a sense of peace and calm. The diving and the snorkeling was really pleasant. So I picked this case study to show you that it is not because you have everything on hand of natural assets that you make the most out of it. And this is definitely an example of where policy can, should, or must step in to preserve the natural resources of this island for the future and also generate a sustainable income stream for the future generations of the local people of this island. What would I suggest? A very targeted public policy on the environmental factors and a differentiation in stays. So not only lower end B&Bs, but also more nice, more nicely furnished B&Bs, even maybe one or two nicer small boutique hotels, and consumer education. Very important that if you find yourself in a position as an island or as a service provider where the type of tourists that come to your place are really not the ones that you are 100% happy with, or you would like a better differentiation, or you would like a more segmented approach, then you can start taking ownership for that as a service provider or as an island to do sensitization and ask accountability from your visitors and guide them, not start another scooter rental company for the sake of making money. There are a lot of other options you could do to gain money, but not add another scooter rental company. A public policy measure would be, for example, establish a shuttle bus that comes at, because it's always the same way where the scooters are, but if you establish a bus, for example, that drives back and forth and you just buy a day pass or something like that, and the bus would drive between 6 a.m. and 12 p.m., then you have a very nice policy option to get rid of the traffic jams, because for me it was quite staggering to be on such a beautiful remote island and to be in traffic jams and to be in noise and in pollution as if I were in downtown Taipei. It doesn't make sense, and it will for sure not appeal to an international audience or an audience willing to pay more or an audience that is more conscious or more focused on sustainability. And I mentioned it before, we have to focus on a long-term approach. What I want to say about this is also that there are three key components that interact: public sector, consumers/visitors, and then private sector, and they all interact. The public sector has a very important role to play to make the framework, and then the private sector can step in with alternatives or with other options that will also generate revenue but will not overburden the capacity of the island. And the consumers and visitors should be educated and should be targeted as well, or could or must. And this all will lead to a very sustainable approach for the future. So if you ask me, there is a lot of hope since there is a lot of room for improvement. I see hope, and I think since there is a big movement going on in the world of people and policymakers and businesses that really want to do things more sustainable in order for example, their island not to perish in 5 years because it's polluted to death with scooters and everyone has dived there and everyone has snorkeled there and there is no reef left to look at. It's a good idea to look at this in this approach, like I said, with the public sector doing its work, the private sector doing its work, and the consumers and visitors doing their work all together in an interactive synergy. And then you can enjoy green islands, for example. Luckily there was not much of light pollution there, so you could see the stars and a beautiful moon like I show here. And this case study is to show you that if you are a policymaker, if you are a private business, if you're an employee or a private citizen, we all have a role to play in this to make our island more long-term oriented and future-proof. And there is a lot of hope for the future. And this is a very positive message to convey. All right, last case study, the Silk's Place Taroko. Taroko is in the east part of Taiwan, east central part. It's a beautiful, beautiful place. It's in Hualien, and the Taroko Gorge is natural, mountainous, and colder. The gorge is gorgeous and the water is crystal blue and the atmosphere is very reverent because you have this big force of nature, the mountains that really inspire people. So that is the perfect setting to have a place like the Silk's Place Taroko. Silk's Place Taroko is a luxury hotel perfectly blended with the surroundings, and it is focused on recharging in nature. All elements balanced are there. The 5-element theory of ancient Chinese culture: wood, fire, metal, water, and earth. Here in this picture, you will see you have the fire of that fireplace, wood. You have all the trees surrounding, water. There is a water stream down below. You cannot see it on the picture, but it's there. Earth, you have, downstairs you also have earth and you have an orchard. And then metal, there is some water that is charged with lots of minerals, and the thermic water, they use it at the spa, for example. And here this is a metal bowl. So a lot has been put into thought to come up with this. This is me enjoying a nice read here, enjoying the surroundings. What I liked a lot about this place was the link with local indigenous communities. Why Hualien has the Amis people. The Amis people are an indigenous tribe. It's their region, and the link with the local indigenous community is that it's their community, it's their surroundings, and there is an educational and preservational element by employing indigenous people, but also giving them training and using the local cuisine. There's a side note, they adapt to modern times. Of course, they don't have to stay in ancient prehistoric times or medieval times, and culture evolves. Also, culture in indigenous communities. So, I have indigenous friends in Latin America because yeah, due to my legal background, and I must say I really enjoy learning about this aspect. And for example, here at the Sales Place Taroko, they do their dances and they give performances and they give education to visitors. Recharge in nature. The Sales Place Taroko caters to an active audience. For example, I went on lots of mountain hikes there. People that want to do activities by day or relax by day and then at night enjoy. So it's a luxury hotel perfectly blended with the surroundings. The proposition is recharge in nature and all the elements are balanced. The link with Taiwanese signature heritage is oolong tea. Oolong tea will be used in the cuisine, but also in tea ceremony. They will give you tea, but at the spa, they use oolong tea as well in some weighted pillows for your eyes, for example. So they really integrate that specific aspect of Taiwanese culture that is so important. You had the Hualien cuisine in the restaurant, some medicinal dishes as well. They were absolutely delicious, and it was great that they were offering that. The spa, I consider myself a spa connoisseur, and the spa was out of this world, or better, the technique was out of this world. So the traditional beauty rituals, wow, I still dream about it. In the gift shop, it has artisanal crafts, art, and decoration. So you can definitely buy something to at home remember the nice experience. And for me, it was buying all types of goodies from the spa. This was actually the view from our room, okay, with telelens, but you could see the mountain and this pagoda, so it's very lovely. You have also some live performances there, with traditional music to like entertain people, but also soothe and calm the senses and create a very harmonious atmosphere. And the backdrops of the mountains are just there present, so there's a very good integration between the hotel and the surroundings, so people can really recharge and replenish in nature. The conclusion that I would add from this is that always take the particularities of your own setting into account. If you're an island, you're not a continent. If you're a small nation, you're not a big nation. But all these things have their own benefits and their own very specific, unique selling propositions. The local culture is important, geography, the ingredients, the seasoning, what makes your food stand out, the cuisine, the traditions, and the ecological footprint. Keep it local and only import what is really needed. And I would say these examples are very hopeful because they show some places there is a lot of room for improvement, other there's little, but always this movement of looking at that interaction between humans, earth, and make it sustainable. And the visitor wants to be educated as a consumer. Travel is a way of learning about the world. Travel inspires and makes us dream and prepare for the future. And innovation and sustainability pays off, especially now in post-pandemic times. People are going back to nature, back to their roots. People want to reconnect again, and this movement is a very, very trendy and important movement right now. Conclusion. What I would like to say is that focus on what is important for you as an island, what is important for you as a community, as a people, as a family, as a person, to maintain that connection to the roots of your island and preserve that and educate your visitors that they are part in that movement of preservation, and not that they just come, leave their footprints all over, extract, consume, and just leave it barren. That is something from centuries ago, but in 2020 that's not the way to go anymore. The visitor is an empowered customer, and with privilege comes responsibility. The privilege of visiting your island nation has to come with responsibility of preservation and of being respectful with the natural resources, with the local culture you have to offer, and all the other things that are so particular and linked to what makes your society so important and powerful and special. And this responsibility for the visitor leads to accountability. And a future-proof, conscious global citizen is a respectful visitor. And if your visitors are not behaving in a respectful way, you have to educate them, and you have to target your marketing and your sales in that way that you attract respectful visitors. So it's a two-way street, and don't settle for less. You live and you come from paradise, and let's maintain it paradise. As policymakers and service providers, we can nudge the visitor into respectful, conscious, and sustainable behavior. And if we step up our game, the visitors will step up their game as well. And we have to level the standard of excellence for ourselves so that we attract excellent visitors and that we have this synergy. This brings me to the closing off, and with pain in my heart, I have to say goodbye. I hope we can reconnect in some way or the other. And to you, I want to say, Tuba, Komodada, Kmal Mesulan, and Fafetai. It was an honor and pleasure to be teaching to you, and I hope you had a lot of information from this teaching, and that you can do something that will inspire you to attract visitors from all over the globe, and to share and preserve all the unique things that you have to offer. You can connect with me, you can ask me questions, and we can collaborate together, or invite me to your island. I'm passionate about the Pacific, so feel free to invite me.